Hi everybody, my name is Kris Sensei, and I am the founder and chief instructor of Goju Ryu Freestyle martial arts here in North Queensland, Australia. Today I just want to talk to you a little bit about the style, its origins, influences, and some general stuff about our training methods and why we train the way we do and what we aim to teach through our studies in the martial arts. First of all, our name, Goju Ryu Freestyle Martial Arts. The Goju Ryu portion of the name comes from the fact that over the last 30 years that's been my primary style of study, being Okinawan Goju Ryu Karate. I started that when I was 10 years old and have continued to study and have sought to perfect the aspects of the style that I've come to know and love over that period of time. Moving on from there to the freestyle martial arts aspect. Over a number of years I've witnessed a very clear and obvious change in the rules of engagement when it comes to dealing with physical confrontation, be it on the home or the streets or pubs or whatever. And I found that in order to be prepared to engage effectively and be the victor in the event of getting caught up in some of this kind of stuff, that I needed to expand my training horizons and seek to learn techniques and tools that were made available through other styles of martial art. And some of those styles include Muay Thai kickboxing, Aikido, Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Krav Maga, to name a few. And therefore we are no longer Goju Ryu Karate, or I don't teach Goju Ryu Karate specifically. I teach a Goju Ryu based freestyle martial art that encompasses techniques and training methods from a variety of disciplines from a lot of different countries around the world. So we're no longer predominantly a Japanese or Okinawan style. We now include China, Korea, Israel, Thailand, and so on and so forth. So that's our name, and that's what it's about. When it comes to our training, I'd like to make clear that we train in the martial arts and we do it for the purpose of meeting real life needs, as opposed to entering into the realm of martial arts for the purpose of sport, whether it be a traditional semi-contact tournament, K1 kickboxing, a Muay Thai bout, or the new mixed martial arts style of fighting. We train for real life, because what you do in the dojo or your place of training ultimately will affect the outcome of a situation when you're dealing with it on the streets in defence of yourself or someone that you love. A story was brought to my attention recently by my wife, who was also one of my students and assistant instructors, and I'm going to take out the details, the particular style and so on and so forth that one of these people was involved in, but I'm going to just tell you the story in a paraphrased way that will let you know a little bit about the how we train and what we aim to achieve. A gentleman walking down the street one night, trained in martial arts for an extensive number of years, was confronted with an assailant who was armed with a knife. Now the exponent of the martial arts quickly engaged as was necessary to gain control of the situation and neutralise his opponent. I believe he got him down to the ground and somehow managed to armbar or whatever and gain control. Now at this point in the engagement, the assailant had done what we now commonly know as tapped out. You know, giving a little bang on the leg, oh, it hurts. Now the gentleman who'd been training in martial arts in his dojo, they were taught that when tapping out comes along, it was obviously drilled in a lot, that the automatic response is, or the expected response in the training circumstances to release, you know, which is valid. We don't want to train to hurt the people that we train with. However, it had become so ingrained in the student that when involved in this real life situation where his life was threatened, that when the assailant tapped out, he let go, he released. At that point, the tables turned rapidly. The assailant then regained control, inflicted multiple stab wounds, leaving this person with devastating injuries that were potentially life-threatening. The person didn't die, however, they're going to be scarred physically, mentally and emotionally for an extended period of time, based on the fact that they've done their training so well that it nearly got them killed. Although we do utilise in some portions of our training, you know, the need for control and to not break arms and limbs of the people that we train with, we do train with the mentality and reinforce continually that in real life there are no holds bars, there are no tap outs, there is no stopping. You go till it's finished, your opponent is neutralised, and you can get away safely without any risk to yourself. So that's that aspect of it. We're not sport, we're real life. There's a lot of controversy floating around the martial arts world at the moment with regards to traditional styles, traditional training methods, so on and so forth. And what I deem to be a lot of shortcuts being taken in training by some trainers and instructors and so on and so forth. I'm really passionate and really committed to maintaining the bulk of the traditional Kihon and Kata training styles of the Okinawan systems of karate. What I mean by that is that basically before you can walk, you've got to learn to crawl. And in martial arts terms, to draw a picture, before you can learn to throw an effective and devastating 1-inch punch, you must first have spent time learning how to throw the full long form 2-foot version, or however long your arm happens to be. Bruce Lee once said, and I'm just going to paraphrase this, that he doesn't fear the man who's practiced 10,000 techniques once. He fears the man who's practiced one technique 10,000 times. So we utilise basic Kihon training, you know, long form techniques, punches, kicks, blocks, so on and so forth. That sets the foundation for later on being able to shorten things down and utilise techniques in a shorter, sharper method in combat situations. But the purpose of Kihon, the real purpose of learning basic techniques and developing and practicing over an extended period of time, is that it helps with the perfection of the technique. Learning to throw a correct punch is not just about learning how to pop your fist straight out in front of you. You know, there's a whole lot more to a punch than moving one's arm. It teaches balance. It develops strength and discipline. And when all these things are combined over even months of practice, the devastation of the technique when used in a real situation is over and beyond someone who's just spent their time trying to learn how to do a 1-inch punch. And that applies to any technique: blocks, grapples, leg locks, whatever. Repetition is the mother of skill. Thank you, Tony Robbins. All right, doing things over and over again creates muscle memory. Absolutely vital. What muscle memory gives you is seconds or split seconds when it comes to engaging in something. You know, it is almost as if when an assailant does a particular technique or takes a particular course of action, that you don't have to think in order to react or to respond. You know, things become automatic because it's been drilled in. It's a part of your makeup, your mind, your body, your spirit. Your muscles just remember how to block a punch to the face, or to gain control of somebody who's grabbed you by the lapel and instigate a wrist lock. So key-on training, basic training, absolutely vital in my opinion, and is a part of a martial arts student's journey from the day they begin to the day they choose to end the journey or they die. There is no time to ever, for any extended period of time, to break away from the practice of the basic techniques of any given martial art. It's the foundation of who we are and what we do. Same things come up about Kata, utilising the practice of forms. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that long before Fred Astaire became a famous movie star as a dancer, he spent a lot of time learning how to dance, how to move. A long time before baby gets up and toddles around on its feet doing the wobble. You know, it's spent time crawling backwards, crawling forwards, climbing up on furniture and all that before it finally lets go and starts to take those steps and to learn balance and coordination and its ability to walk. Kata is exactly the same thing for us as martial artists. It's absolutely vital. It's how we learn to walk. It's how we learn to move, to turn, to balance, and we learn all of that while also practicing Kihon or our basic techniques in a much more dynamic way. It removes the monotony of just standing in front of a mirror or in a dojo, in a training session, in shikotachi, throwing shomensuki over and over again. It allows you to mix up your techniques in a prepared manner. It allows you to do it on the move. It helps develop power, balance, the ability to turn, respond to attacks from any given direction, and maintain your centre of balance and your focus throughout the whole thing. So for those of you who believe it's not valid, that's fine. My opinion is that it's absolutely vital. Over the years I've met a lot of very experienced karateka in particular, and the ones that I find that give me the most trouble, be it in a tournament or in a dojo where I'm training, are the ones that are well disciplined and continue to train extensively, utilising their kata when they're training alone. They're the ones that give me the most grief. So we've talked a little bit about that kind of stuff now, and the reality is that what Goju Ryu Freestyle martial arts about is self-defense in real world terms, be it personal self-defense or in defense of one's family or friends, or even in defense of someone who is being victimized on the street, be it a woman being attacked or somebody being well outnumbered in a street fight. What we teach isn't necessarily pretty to look at. You're probably not going to see too many of our students in the next major motion picture alongside Tony Jaa or other amazing fighters who look absolutely awesome. What we teach is effective technique, and therefore, although we do study and learn, jumping kicks and spinning kicks and all that stuff as a part of our journey through the martial arts, when it comes to teaching self-defense and techniques that have value on the street, a lot of it's just very short, sharp, brutal stuff. Have to excuse my dogs out there barking, shooting at home today. Now back to the self-defense aspect. Over the years that I've trained, I've learned hundreds of different techniques from a variety of different disciplines. At the end of the day, at any time where I've had to utilise this stuff, I could probably count on the fingers of my hands. 10 or less key techniques that are in my toolkit that I would choose to use immediately. And they're all brutal, they're all bone crushing, they're all painful, and none of them are particularly pretty to wear. There are no rules on the streets. So at the end of the day, what we train for is to end an engagement, if it comes to physical confrontation, as quickly and as brutally as possible, so that we can walk away safely and get assistance or whatever. So, you know, I've taught self-defense courses over the years, particularly with women, and they get a bit squeamish when I start talking about, you know, kicking a man in the testicles or forcing your thumbs into somebody's eye sockets until their eyeballs pop out, or things like that. But that is the kind of stuff that we need to learn. Because the reality is, if you don't do it to them, they're going to do something to you, which could be a lot worse. So learning how to dislocate joints, break limbs, throat punch and collapse hyoids, eye gouges, all that stuff, it's all in there, and it's all valid, and it's all useful, and I make no apologies for that. As I said, there's no rules out there, and in certain circumstances I believe that you know, striking first can be an option. If somebody comes to me with a weapon and they're waving it around, I'm not going to wait until they go to make a move to stab me or anything else before I engage that person. I see that knife, it's waving around, I'll try and get a hold of it and take them down. And if necessary, I'll utilise their weapon back on them. Another rule on the street: if you don't use it, they will. There are no rules. If there's a chair available, pick it up and club them with it. Why break a hand or anything else? Why get close if you don't have to? If there's something you can utilise to deal with an assailant from a distance, a safe distance, use it. Chairs, whatever. So that, in essence, covers the basics. Although we are traditional, we aim to meet modern needs. And modern needs on the street are that you never know what you're going to deal with, how many you're going to deal with, what they're armed with, and so on and so forth. So brutality, decisiveness, and effective technique are absolutely key in what we learn and how we act. Underneath all of that, there is a lot of the mental, physical and spiritual discipline aspect of the martial arts that comes about through a duration of time training. We don't teach meditation, we don't get into whose spiritual path is what. It doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or Islamic or Jewish or whatever. The spiritual side of the training and stuff is very much personal. However, there is always a measure of spiritual development even in a complete atheist, even if it's just that faith in their self and their abilities to come about. The physical discipline comes about through training, and everything else, and the mental discipline comes about through the learning of the art itself. I teach predominantly utilising the Japanese and Okinawan languages with regards to all of those techniques, be it from jiu-jitsu or judo or whatever. I do it for a challenge, and I do it to pay homage to the origins of the main martial art that I've studied. It's a part of the discipline for myself and the students to learn another language as we train, as well as just learning techniques and everything else. Martial arts should be a lifetime and holistic pursuit. If taught correctly, it ought to filter out into every aspect of the student's life. And I believe that's vital. And I find that the more I'm involved in training, because I've had periods of time where I've trained less, the more involved I am, the better my general outlook on life is, the better I respond to situations in life and everything else. And all that comes from just turning up to the dojo and working with my students and training and all the rest of it. We don't train bullies, we don't allow bullies. I remember Shian, he's now Renji, my first instructor, telling me when I first began training as a young boy that if at any time he'd ever heard that I was engaged in bullying or I was utilising what he was teaching me outside of the dojo for anything other than personal self-defence, I was out the door, I was gone. And he meant it, and I've seen it done, and I'm the same. There's no room in the martial arts to train bullies and thugs, in my personal opinion. Avoiding violence is the optimum thing that we seek to do through the study of martial arts. Violence is a last resort. Good mind is a good start before worrying about good fists. So anyway, I think I've said more than enough for the moment. This is an ongoing study. There's reams, volumes of information and stuff that I can share with you, and that it's available on the web, in books, from sokes, hanchis, renchis, instructors all around the world. It's your job to seek it out, whether you do it with us or with somebody else. Ultimately is of little concern to me. I have a love for the martial arts in general. I have no animosity towards any style. I would personally encourage any student of the martial arts to look into as many styles along their journey as they are comfortable and able to do. The martial arts are about personal development. Even though we train together, it's a very individual thing. It's about learning strengths and weaknesses and developing strengths and eliminating weaknesses. I have a very individual style of fighting, and it's appropriate to me for my size, my weight, and so on and so forth. And as an instructor, I endeavour through the training with my students to develop the individuals that I work with in the same manner, so that we can all each individually come to a place where we have all of our own strengths and none of anybody else's weaknesses. Carbon copies, McDojo, whatever, is something I really want to break away from. And I'm always open to new information, so any feedback, communication, more than welcome. And I look forward to hearing from you or possibly seeing you in the dojo sometime. Thank you very much.